Hi, I'm Daz, I'm the producer of The Drift, and I'm back now from my holiday and my 2 weeks work in the North Sea with the Navy on exercise, and that was good fun. It was good fun going on holiday, obviously, time to sort of relax and chill out, but also a good time to sort of reflect on how things have been going with The Drift. When you're sitting on an aeroplane for 8 hours or waiting in a terminal or in a queue, then it's the mind starts to relax and start to reflect on how it's gone. And yeah, on the whole, it's going really, really well. But of course, as a producer, that you always sort of analyse how you can do things better, and in doing so, I was sort of looking at how the parks, for example, both Disney World and the other parks, how they run their business and how they communicate with their people, and looking at the leadership styles to make that work, because they're all employees. And how is it that somebody who empties the bins at Disney World is really polite, seems to be really pleased to be there, and really helpful? That's a big deal. You don't get that often in the UK. In fact, you don't get that often anywhere at all, and that's quite intriguing as to why that is. In fact, it's no secret, frankly, that Disney does that, and there's a Disney Institute of Leadership and all that to make it work. So, at the same time, I was sort of enjoying my holiday, I was also looking at how that would work for us, and to a certain degree, I think it does work for us. Because we work with people all over the world who aren't being paid, and they're still keen to help. But I think it needs to go further than that, and one of the reasons why I sort of say that is that while I've been away, things have been moving forward nicely on The Drift, but not perhaps as much as I would like. And that isn't a surprise, and nor is it a criticism of the team. This is an issue for me to sort out, and my responsibility ultimately as producer, and where production leadership really comes into it. And I've been thinking long and hard about that, especially the last sort of couple of days as I've got back and looked at how much work we've achieved while I've been away, which is considerable, how much more I would have liked to have achieved, and why we didn't. And again, it's important to make it clear that this is not a reflection on the guys helping out. It's a reflection on how we do our business. And there's often a discussion perhaps between leadership and management and what's the difference between the two. I've sort of been looking at leadership and management is where management rather is delivering output, and leadership is making magic. And that sounds a little bit, well, how do you quantify that? Well, this is where you build a car, you can have like a machine workflow where the robots do all the stuff, and then as a manager you just check everything is working. You have to discuss it with the machines. You don't have to treat them nicely or not nicely, or chase them up. They either do the job or they don't, and when they don't do it, you go through a workflow. So if the machine breaks down, you call in the guy or whatever, and then they fix it. Leadership is when you're dealing is the human element, the human factor of a production. So and that's a real powerful weapon, because if you get it right, the people can work harder than a machine, they can work longer than a machine, they can work beyond the capabilities of what a machine is designed to do. A machine is designed to screw the bolts into the car, put the wheel on, and off it goes. It doesn't do anything else. It only does that. Whereas people can do more. You can train people, you can inspire people, and you can encourage them to work harder for longer. You can make them believe in what they're doing rather than just do it. And that's leadership. And that's what I saw at Disney World. And it's looking at how people often have strategies, and that's what I'm doing at the moment, sort of planning a strategy for the next phase of post-production. And it's very easy to go down the whole route of the management strategy, the output. How many shots do I need, and how many visual effects do I have to do, and how many storyboards do I have? And that's really important. Arguably, it's the first thing you should do. You've got to quantify what it is that needs to be done. Perhaps that's something in the past that we've not done quite so well, and then we need to develop that further. So that's one part, that's the management, but then you've got the leadership strategy, which I think is the next thing you need to do, which is how am I going to do that? Who am I going to use? How long is it going to take? And who's best placed to deliver that product? So, and are they capable of delivering that product? And do they have the capacity? And are they better than a different person or more suited? But do they take twice as long? And where are they located? And what's their key strength, and where are the areas that I need to help them with? Are they someone who has a confidence problem? Are they someone who doesn't adhere to the brief. They get so excited with all the things you tell them about, they go off and do something else completely. You know, so you ask them to build you a spaceship, and they go, "Oh yeah, I looked at that spaceship, but I've just been building this planet, which I thought looked really cool for the drift." Well, that's great, but I asked you to build a spaceship, and I need that. Now, how do I deal with that? How do I say to them? If I said it just like that, are they going to feel good about it? You know, are they going to be motivated? So what does that mean? How do I deal with that? Well, do you supervise them more closely? So don't wait for them to get to build that planet. You know, supervise them more regularly, perhaps. You know, check in on them more often, and being able to identify that each person is different. So you have to treat them differently. And this is something I've been chatting a lot with my visual effects supervisors as well, more recently, about identifying the key strengths of each person. What are they good at? What areas do they need more help with? What do they like doing? And how quickly can they turn it around? And how can we help them turn it around more effectively? So those are sort of the two areas that I've sort of split the sort of productivity into. Sort of management, as in the workflow itself, the process. You know, you create this level, then you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and this, and then how you apply that process to the people. It's almost like that, isn't it? Like say like a cog, like a machine. And working on that leadership element is just as important as working on that management thing. They're two different things that you have to consider together. And of course, the added pressure for us is that we're dealing with people who are all over the world. So unlike, for example, where you have like a workhouse where everyone's working together in one place, they're all over the world and in different time zones. That only compounds the problems, the challenge in how you deal with that, because often the less you hear from somebody, the more you fear that they're not doing something and they're not helping anymore, and then suddenly you hear from them and suddenly everything's great again. And as a leader, as a producer, you need to make sure you don't get into that position where you start thinking that people aren't helping anymore. You need to, as a leader, be chasing that up. And then knowing that person, knowing how to chase it up. How do you speak to that person? How do you keep the flow of work going without them feeling pressurised and keeping them feeling positive about the project? It's really difficult. We've still got a long way to go with the film, a long way in terms of the visual effects. We're trying to break it down as much as we can. We're identifying all the key areas, and now, you know, I need to work with my team and decide who's best placed. Where do we need to recruit potentially, and how do we make it easy? So going back to the management side, you know, is the workflow achievable? Is it good? Does it work? Is it easy? Are we making sure that the artists, the visual effect guys, are only having to worry about the visual effect? A great example, yesterday I was chatting with my visual effects supervisor and about making models for ships. And we got lots of volunteers of 3D artists all saying, yeah, we can make spaceships. So we said, okay, can you make us a spaceship? And they're like, well, what do you want us to look like? And then we're sort of saying, well, like a spaceship, you know, something out of Battlestar Galactica or something, or 2001, something like that. No, you don't get it, they say. We need to know what it looks like. And then we're sort of thinking, well, hang on a minute, aren't you the guy that makes a spaceship? And they said, well, yeah, we can make a spaceship, but you've got to tell us what it looks like. And that's where the penny dropped, because it was a case of these guys can make a model from a picture, but they need the picture first. And that's management, that's the workflow itself, that's understanding elements of the workflow and not assuming too many things in one layer. So creating a spaceship is more than just designing it. You've got to design what it looks like, and then you've got to actually physically build it. It's like a real ship. You know, you design a ship to go on the water. First of all, you get the architect, whatever construction guy, to make it, design it, and everything else, and then he gives it to the builders, and they physically build it. And that's what we're missing in our workflow. So we have to keep checking that the workflow is good too, and that when we're asking somebody to do something, they're actually doing the bit they said they could do, and we're not adding, unknowingly perhaps, adding stuff around that task which complicates it and makes it difficult for them to actually do the bit they said they could do, they offered to do. Things like texturizing. Well, yeah, we could texture, but you've got to tell us what the texture has to look like, and then we'll make that texture. So it's analysing those elements and giving that information to the artists. So that's the management side. Back to the leadership side, then of course is then recognising their value, recognising what they're doing, when they're doing it, how quickly they're achieving it, and praising them, when it's done, or even along the way, when things get tough, and things are tough. So that's all part of what's going on right now. The strategy, another strategy review, and they keep happening, which is as they should do, because as the film moves forward, things change, the dynamic changes, the look of the film changes, and so we have to change the strategy to make sure, and then remember that strategy for the next one, and constantly evaluate. So there's a lot going on. We've got some meetings planned. We've got some people coming over in a few weeks' time. We're going to start our first mega workshop. So the house will be packed with people doing stuff for the drift. That will then launch things further forward. We have the advantage, of course, of everyone being here, or those that are here, to actually work real time with them, which allows us to be more productive in a much shorter period of time. And I think that's sort of the final thing I want to sort of talk about today, is that this movie will take however many thousands of hours to make. It could take 1,000 hours, 10,000, 100,000 hours. The key is until that, say it's 10,000 hours, the key is it will always take that. Either we do 2 hours a week, in which case it will take years, or we do 10 hours a week, or 100 hours a week, or 1,000 hours a week. So in order to get more hours done per week, you need more people. The less people we have, the longer it takes to make the film, but it still takes 10,000 hours to make, or however many hours it's going to be. And that's the problem in terms of if the management fails and if the leadership fails, or just one of them isn't up to speed, the whole process, the whole journey just takes longer and longer and longer. And ultimately, that's what you're trying to achieve. You want to have good management, good leadership to complete the film in the shortest possible time. Getting the most output with the least amount of effort.